Hey everybody, it's Papa Darby. So as Scott and I were recording this episode, we discovered that there is so much good content that we needed to split this up into two. There was nothing in here that we wanted to cut. So you are about to listen to part one of Walter motherfucking Disney. That might be the title. It might be something else. I haven't decided yet. But if you're listening to this, you already know what I've decided on. So how about you tell me what it is? Anyway, guys, get stoned and enjoy. Last. Oh my fucking god.
You're seriously not pretending like this is your first time in a gay club, right?
No, it's not. This is the first time I've been in a gay club in New York City with that guy. It was a great time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did he call you this morning?
Well, I left early this morning. His place early this morning.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, you know, I'm a gentleman. Which means I called him, yes. Well, I texted him. Turns out he's a gentleman too. But it was fun. We went to, oh shit, I forgot what the fucking place was called, but we were in the West End. He lives in Manhattan. We Ubered out to West End. Oh, and last night, fucking all of Manhattan, well, half of Manhattan had a blackout. And so it was like 95 at 10 p.m. with no AC fucking anywhere. That was rough. Yeah.
Just everybody running their AC too hard overdid the system, or what?
No, there was some sort of explosion in a manhole somewhere. And yeah, it took out the hypothesis is that it took out a transformer. But yeah, the cops had blocked off a bunch of blocks, which I guess is not what they normally do when there's this kind of power outage. So something weird happened, but it got restored. It got to be restored by like 11:30.
So if I'm hearing this right, a transformer exploded in your manhole so violently that it knocked the power out for half the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's that's the long and short of it. Yeah, this is the Higher Minds podcast.
I'm Scott.
I'm Papa Darby. How is everybody there in listener land? Yeah, we thought so. We love you too. Yeah. Yeah. What are we talking about today, dude?
Today we're talking about Disney.
Disney.
Walt Disney.
Walter Brisbane Disney. Right? That guy?
I don't think it was Brisbane.
It was not Brisbane. I made that shit up. But that's what it's going to be titled.
I'm pretty sure it was Walter Elias Disney.
I think so. Yeah. He was named, his middle name was after his father.
Maybe?
Yes, it was. I looked this shit up. So yeah, we're gonna talk about him. Scott, what did you do like with this?
I kind of have a overall just rundown of his life from childhood through death, basically.
Oh, okay. I concentrated more on those dirty deeds because, well, I'm deviant like that, and I like dark stories. I am also in a hotel room in New Jersey, so I can't tell you about any marijuana that I may or may not have smoked because it is illegal here. So,
yeah,
Scott.
You went to the East Coast.
Yeah. I mean, I like it here. I've had a good time so far, but I don't know. As progressive as they are, they're fucking not. I don't get it. But what are you smoking on today? The weed of the week.
I went out on 7/10, which in real time is just a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And got a handful of different concentrates to celebrate the holiday with.
Oh, more concentrates.
So I have been smoking for the better part of 3 hours now, waiting on you to finally get your ass up out of bed and start doing this.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't expect to be that late.
Actually, no, more than a few hours. I started smoking probably about 3.5, 4 hours ago.
Wow.
In preparation for you to go, hey, I'm ready, and then that never fucking happened.
You know what? This board is full of technical difficulties. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened. It just like okay. So I was telling him before we started recording, I'm getting my phone set up and on the board and shit, and I get the mic and everything's good, and then I get a call and everything gets fucked up, and then like we try to start again, but the fucking jack won't work, and then all of a sudden, as I'm not touching it, it's just sitting there, and I'm not touching anything, it starts working. So, ghosties, goblins.
A
That's what it
lovely
is.
story.
So, where was Disney born?
Disney was born in Chicago, December 5th, 1901.
Oh.
For some reason, I didn't think he was that old, but apparently he was.
How old does that make him? Like today? If he was alive?
Today, he'd be 118.
Doesn't look a day under 118.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I thought he was younger when he was doing all the Disneyland shit, but apparently not.
Oh, like what like age range was he then? Or like what age was he when he started that?
He started working on the idea of a theme park in like 1950. So at that point, he was already 49 years old. For whatever reason, I was thinking he was like late 30s, early 40s when he started working on that.
I kind of thought I had that impression too, but I don't know. 50 makes sense too. I mean, in like thinking of the span of somebody's career, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense that by that point he'd be financially well off enough to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it did take a bunch of capital, I'm sure.
Back up just 1 second here.
Yeah.
Next time you're in town, if I still have some of this banana glue wax, remind me to give you that one. That's some good shit.
All right. Save some if you can.
The other day, it smells like bananas. It's fucking weird. Yeah, I love it.
You heard it here. We got it on the record. Scott loves the smell of bananas.
Born in Chicago.
Yeah.
But grew up in Missouri for the most part. That's kind of where he kind of came into his own, I guess. Like that's what he remembers, just small town Missouri.
Okay.
Then moved to Kansas City, Missouri.
I've used to live there.
Then back to Chicago. So he just kind of did a big loop from Illinois to Missouri, back to Illinois.
Yeah, like geographically, that's not a very wide range.
No, not really.
Yeah. Missouri and Illinois border each other. If I'm right, yes, I'm right about that. So yeah, that's not very wide.
Yeah, Chicago's up north though. Like it's northern Illinois.
And I don't know about back then, but I mean now Kansas City. When you think of when you think of Kansas and you think of Kansas City, those are kind of two different states of being. Like Kansas City is a metropolis. Kansas City is progressive. It's a big city. You know, it's a city. Like Chicago is a city. I think Chicago's bigger and has a bigger population. It's probably more politically progressive, but it's still a big city.
Well, KC is kind of two cities, isn't it?
What's that?
There's Kansas City, Missouri, then there's Kansas City, Kansas City.
Yes. So they actually border each other on the border. So there is KCMO, KCK is what they call them. And yeah, it's still the same city. Like they're pretty, they have laws and taxes such that they're pretty intermingled. I'm not sure the fine details of that, but I remember when I was living there, it was basically the same city.
I used to work with a guy that grew up in that area, and he said a lot of people will live in one and work in the other because the way the taxes are set up, it's like way beneficial to do the commute like that.
Yeah, and I think it's live in Kansas and commute to Missouri. I think that's the way those taxes work, but it might be the other way around too.
Growing up, Disney was already into drawing and cartooning and everything. In high school, he used to be a cartoonist in the paper, doing mostly like patriotic propaganda stuff during World War I.
Okay.
Or Yeah, that'd have been World War One.
You know what? This is a super postable subject, so yeah, you have those pictures, right?
Hmm?
You got copies of those pictures, right?
Of the cartoons?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably track them down.
Oh, wait. No, we can't post Disney shit like that, can we? No, we can just talk about it. Never mind. We're not going to post any of this shit, any of these pictures.
Why?
Because Disney owns the rights to all those images.
You can share them on Facebook or whatever, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'll look it up. We'll see what we can do about just showing you what we're talking about.
I would imagine you could show Disney shit.
Maybe not like clips or movies. I don't know.
We're not even on Disney's radar. They're the second biggest corporation in the world.
I mean, they're looking at us hard. They care about what we're saying a lot. I'm kidding about that. That's not true.
Slightly unrelated. Scold has a song on his new album called Disneyland Must Burn, and it's fucking hilarious, and I love it.
What's it about?
So,
I mean, Disneyland, obviously, but...
Yeah, it's Disneyland Must Burn, and then there's a piece of it, you know, the Mickey Mouse song, M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E.
Yeah.
It's M-O-U-S-E, M-U-S-T die, instead of, like he spells out, Mouse must die, instead of Mickey Mouse. I don't know. I find it amusing. In 1918, Walt tried to join the army, but was rejected for being too young. He then forged his birth date on his birth certificate and joined the Red Cross as an ambulance driver.
Oh, wow.
That was September of 1918.
So was he...
Right after this happened, they called like a ceasefire to the war, and he was just stuck in France, kind of like, oh, shit.
So he was under enemy fire?
No, he made it there like right as the war was ending, basically.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, he had, I guess the Red Cross, something like that, you only had to be 17 to join, where the Army is obviously 18. And he was 16 at the time, but just changed the 1 on his birth certificate for 1901 to a 0, so it read 1900. And that made him old enough to join the Red Cross.
So 1918, this is World War One. Our enemies in World War One were Germany. Well, basically the Axis forces, like then too, right?
World War One would have been Germany, Austria-Hungary.
You said Hungary. That's funny.
Was it the Russians again? I don't remember.
No, I think we turned cold on them during, at the onset of the Cold War, right after World War II, because of the political situation in Berlin, I believe.
Well, that was the whole East versus West thing, the capitalism versus socialism thing.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, and I think that started then. So what I'm saying is I think Russia, we were still on the same side as Russia during World War One.
Okay. Because we kind of flip-flopped on them during World War II.
At the end.
Guy, but then the enemy of my enemy is also my friend. And
Right.
they're all fighting the Nazis at the time, so.
Right. And yeah, once they were soundly, well, not soundly, but once their defeat was imminent, then yeah, we started turning cold towards Russia. But I bring that up because it's interesting that he volunteered for the Allies. I assume the Allies side. You said the Red Cross. I think they were an allied organization. But his political leanings kind of drifted the opposite way later. Interesting.
He, for the most part, identified as Republican, but he voted Democrat because that's how Hollywood is. Like, you kind of got to fit in sort of situation.
Ooh, I found some evidence that there's some controversy regarding that, too. I'm not so sure. I think he probably said he voted Democrat, but that's not where his heart was. As we understand Democrats and Republicans today.
Hollywood machine, you just kind of go with whatever everybody else is going with.
Publicly, yeah, but privately, that's his public and private life were different. Yeah.
Yeah, I've read and I've watched a couple documentaries and shit. He was very kind of shy and soft-spoken in private life, but in public he kind of put on the Walt Disney character of happy, smiley, outgoing, and everything.
Right. I think I heard.
Almost like his public persona was a character that he was playing.
Right. And I think that I read that psychologists look back on that and say that he was overcompensating for a poor childhood.
See, and that's a lot of the rumors and shit that have come out about him came out after his death when he's not there to, no, this isn't what happened. He can't fucking defend himself. That's I always take anything that people say about somebody after they die with a grain of salt. Like all the Michael Jackson shit, like there was probably a lot of that shit going on, and there's evidence of that shit going on when he was alive, but you can't fucking come up 10 years after he's dead and say, oh yeah, he touched me too.
Well, sure you can. If that's an actual fact, sure you can.
Yeah, but there's no fucking evidence of the matter. Whether it's Michael Jackson touching kids or Walt Disney being racist or whatever.
Well, non-hearsay testimony is considered evidence. Like any other corroborating evidence, sure, there's probably none of that. But I don't know if Michael Jackson touched you and he's now dead and you never said anything, I still think that you deserve to be able to come out today and say that he did. If, in fact, that's true.
If you can prove it's true. Otherwise, you're just slandering a name.
If it happened to you, I don't think, like, legally, I don't think that's slander, and ethically, I don't think that's slander. But I see what you're saying. He should be able to defend himself. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. I don't know. It's just kind of a gray area, right?
Because it's a he said, she said, or he said, little kid said.
Right.
And at that point, he can't say anything.
But the victim of the pedophilia still deserves their justice.
Yeah, if it's real.
Right.
And if you wanted justice, shouldn't you have done that when he was alive?
Now that's another psychological difficulty.
That's
like
not justice at that point; it's compensation.
Which can be justice. I mean, people get what's the word? People have to pay for the damage that they've done, like physical damage occasionally, and well, most of the time, and then damage psychologically can be considered damage as well. So I don't know. I'm glad I'm not in that situation. I'm glad I'm not the person that they call on to make those decisions. I don't want to make those decisions or anything.
We kind of got off topic there with the fucking Michael Jackson thing too. I just threw him out as an example, and we kind of went off on a little tangent.
Right. Well, I think it was a good example, though. I mean, I did look up a bunch of rumors, although the rumors that I looked up, I did have corroborating evidence for. So, I mean, I didn't just... There are a bunch of slanderous things that I heard about him that I didn't include in what I said, or what I have in my report. So,
Him who, Walt or Michael Jackson?
Walt. We should do Michael Jackson someday.
He'd be a good one.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. That'd be like a 4-parter.
Mm-hmm.
Like he started performing when he was 5 or some shit.
Yeah, he was young when Jackson 5 started.
Yeah. So anyway, Disney was a young man in World War I. Did not go to war.
Mm-hmm.
What happened after?
Like I said, he went to France with the Red Cross, but the war was pretty much over by the time he got there, so he didn't really get to do much. While he was there, the Army newspaper Stars and Stripes published some of his cartoons, though. I think that's the first time he was like officially published in something other than like a school paper or whatever.
Did you see any of those? I did read about that, but I didn't like look those up.
I can search for them, see if I can find anything.
Yeah, I'm about to search them too. See if we can. We could probably post Stars and Stripes stuff.
To KC in October of 1919. Worked as an apprentice artist at the Tessman Rubin Commercial Art Studio. There he drew commercial illustrations for advertising, theater programs, and catalogs. While there, he met Ub Iwerks, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Iwerk. Walt Disney and Ub Iwerks are the two that created first Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and then later Mickey Mouse. So they are pretty much the two responsible for very early Disney animation. Like, as we know it, the Steamboat Willie era of Mickey Mouse.
So what? Who actually was the artist for? Who came up with the mouse?
I don't know who came up with it. I think Ub was the one that actually drew it, though. I think he was the illustrator, while Walt was maybe the brain, but I'm not positive.
Was that his contribution to Disney? Was that he had the vision, but everybody else drew? I didn't get into that part, like what his mechanical function was.
Walt, when he was younger, did his own illustrations for like the advertising and stuff like that, and newspaper comics and shit. But as far as like Disney, the company goes, I think Walt was more the brainchild than actually in there drawing the shit. I think he had people who he knew were better artists than what he was actually drawing this shit. Well, he was coming up with the ideas and everything. And I've seen a video of him with like a group of writers and animators and everything with a storyboard behind him, and he's like acting out scenes as they're taking notes on how he wants the characters to move and react and shit like that.
Looking back,
Walt did the voice for Mickey Mouse originally too.
did he have like Steamboat Willie voice, or like when he was first heard? I assume when he was first heard. When was he first heard? I should say. Ask.
Did I have notes on that one? I just watched a documentary last night about this too. Yeah, I don't think he actually talked in like the very early ones, but once he did, Walt was the one that was doing the Mickey Mouse voice, that high-pitched
That was him?
Mickey voice.
Now that everybody doesn't it. Oh!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was Walt doing that voice.
I'll break your arms off. Ha ha! I want to punch you in the nuts. Ha ha! You ever watch Mickey Mouse on South Park? What'd you say?
No.
Oh, South Park does a Mickey Mouse where he's like this fucking psychopathic business tyrant. It's funny.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, it was the one with the Jonas Brothers.
South Park fan. Like, I watch it occasionally, but I've never watched them in order or anything like that. If it's on, I'll stop and watch it, but I don't make it a point to.
Yeah, it came out when I was, I think, oh shit, I was like 13, 14, 15 when that was, that kind of humor was awesome. And then they turned political as I turned political.
Going on 20 years, give or take, right?
Yeah. Wow. You think those are Simpsons numbers, but Simpsons like fucking almost 40.
Yeah, Simpsons is over 30 at least.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely over 30. I think
South Park's 22.
Damn.
August 13th, 1997 was the first episode.
Okay, so I was like 17 when they came out. Or I was 16 when they came out.
And 22 years of South Park.
Wow. Go South Park. I mean, and they're even their episodes or their series on how Simpsons did everything first that they've ever done, even that was creative, and they keep on coming up with really creative stuff when they do come up with creative stuff.
You don't have the pilot episode of South Park, and maybe the first couple, I don't know, are cut out like paper.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Like it's not drawn or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Walt Disney was doing that kind of animation as part of that advertising shit. That paper cutout animation.
Really? I've never seen an example of that.
Lincoln with Disney and South Park.
Oh, let me back up real quick. I did find a Stars and Stripes comic strip written by Walt Disney, so I will I'll post that too.
Cool.
So yeah.
In 1920, January of 1920, Disney and Iwerks were laid off from that advertising company they were working with. They started their own business, which was pretty short-lived. It was Iwerks Disney Commercial Artist. Disney went on to move to Hollywood to do other shit, and then Roy Disney was out there already. They hooked up together and formed Disney Brothers Studios. Later on, they changed the name to Walt Disney Company.
This was 1920, you said?
Hmm.
So this was
the 23 is when he moved to Hollywood and hooked up with his brothers. So.
Okay. So this was a roaring 20s. The American economy was doing really well, though they didn't know that they were getting set up for a bubble that happened in, the crash of 29. But yeah, so they're out in Hollywood, on the West Coast, and they're having they're partying, they're getting money, they're building their business, and well, we know how this all ends up.
Yeah, so this was right there at the height of the Roaring 20s. Calvin Coolidge had just taken the presidency.
I don't know anything about him.
Best president. That's because he was a good president. Calvin Coolidge didn't fuck anything up.
Like, is he known for anything? Except for his last name's Cool?
I don't know if he's known for anything. He's known as Quiet Calvin. Like, he wasn't as outspoken as a lot of presidents are. One quote that I'm going to paraphrase it here. It said something about he believed that it was better to reject bad bills than pass good bills. Like, we needed to get rid of shitty laws. It was more important to have fewer laws if those laws were not shitty, I guess. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to phrase this. Yeah, it started what would become the Walt Disney Company in 1923. His brother Roy.
23, okay.
Married Lillian Bounds in July of 1925. She was an illustrator that worked for them.
Wait. She was an illustrator?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so specifically, what did she do? I have differing information on women illustrators in the company.
From what I had read, she was an illustrator that got hired on at Disney something like 6 months until got married or some shit like that.
So I guess what I'm getting at, are you aware if she came up with creative content, or was she like an inker painter?
I think she was more just a drawer. Like,
it's interesting that you bring that up. So yeah, when I bring mine up, we'll discuss that when it's obvious what I'm talking about.
Here it is. She was working at the Disney studio in paint as a secretary when she met Roy.
There we go. Yeah. All right. That fits with my narrative. So wait.
2 daughters together.
Hold on a second.
What?
I want to point out something you said. Did you say that Calvin Coolidge was a good president?
Not a bad president.
Because you said the words came out of your mouth was good president. I just wanted to point out that you believe that's an oxymoron.
There's only one good president, though.
Okay, I'm just saying. Taxation is theft. Hashtag.
Do you know which president was the best president?
Your perspective. No, I could. No. What? Whom?
No? William Henry Harrison.
I
now
don't.
Ask me why.
Yeah, I was going to. I know nothing about it. What?
About a month after he took office.
Wait, what'd you say?
He was in office for about a month and he fucking died, and in that month he didn't have time to fuck anything up.
Oh. Yeah, well, his wife did, though. His wife did take over the government, and kind of at the beginning of his illness, was fooling Congress and the Senate into thinking that he was making these decisions from bed.
I think you might be mixing up FDR and Harrison. FDR's wife did a lot of shit behind the scenes. Harrison was literally only there for like a month.
Well, no, there was a lot of wives. Nancy Reagan did too. Fuck, she made decisions on his behalf based on astrology.
He was shot or sick or what the fuck happened to Reagan?
Yeah, it was
or some shit.
It was an assassination attempt.
I don't remember.
Yeah, what's his name shot him? I forget what his name is. Was it Sirhan? No, that was Lenin. I forget who shot him. You looking it up?
Okay. Harrison took the oath of office on Thursday, March 4th, 1841. A cold and wet day. He braved the cold weather and chose not to wear an overcoat or hat, rode on horseback to the ceremony rather than in a closed carriage, and then that had been offered to him. He delivered the longest inaugural address in American history at 8,445 words. It took him nearly 2 hours to read.
This was Harrison, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So the best part of his presidency was his inaugural speech?
Died March 26th.
Of that same year, so
office
January 20th.
March the 4th, was dead on March the 26th.
Wait, he took office March the 24th. He took office March 24th?
March 4th to March 26th.
Oh. What year was this?
22 days in office. Best president ever.
What year was this?
1841.
1841. Oh. Do you know when they adopted the January 20th inauguration? Or not when they take office on January 20th?
Sometime after that.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Well, that's the case now. Now the incumbent president takes office January 20th of the election year. Or not of the election year, of the next year after your election. Did that confuse you enough?
I'm just gonna guess sometime after they invented cars. I can't imagine riding a horse to the speech and everything like that in fucking January.
Well, I mean, it's not like they stopped working in January, so I don't know.
No.
That would suck. We should do the Donner Party sometime. You ever read about them?
I know a little bit about them.
Oh, man. How brutal and awful that would have been. But anyway, that is way off topic, and I'm not going to even open that one up.
More along the same lines, but not the Dalatov Pass
Yeah.
party.
I've heard of them too.
Know that one?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's almost identical to the Donner Party story. It's crazy.
Except there's potential aliens in the Dalatov Pass one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's that. I mean, maybe there were aliens with the Donner Party too, I guess.
Maybe. You see all this Area 51 shit going around?
So, you were the first person that I saw, you know what, let's address this. You were the first person I saw to post anything about that, and I asked you, what the fuck is this Area 51 shit? And then you said something about it being, I think what you meant to say was it was an anachronism for a futile and dangerous task. But that's not at all what it was. It's an actual effort.
No, it's going to result in either something very interesting or something very tragic.
But more than a meme, it's an actual effort. Like,
maybe. I don't know how many people on that Facebook thing are actually going to be there.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of, well, fuck, I'm sure you're not going to be there, but I'm sure you're supporting it, right?
I mean, do what you want. I don't care what people do.
I want to go on the record to say fucking civilians storming a military base is a stupid fucking idea. Don't fucking do that. But everybody knows that, and that's what the meme is about.
I would just like to see us get behind, like, not paying our taxes like this. Like, if nobody pays their taxes, they can't do shit about it. Just like if everybody storms Area 51, they can't do shit about it. Like,
soldiers and...
we outnumber them by a shit ton.
Yeah, that's true. Soldiers and...
By the numbers, anything populous put their mind to can fucking happen. Like...
Well, but part of the reason that their government is they organize better than... Well, not only do they organize very well, they keep everybody else from organizing. So it's an uphill battle.
See, and I saw something, I don't know if it was real or not. It was supposedly from somebody who works in Army intelligence or whatever, and it said about people need to stop talking about this. They got us legit looking at comments and shit.
Hey, you know what? This is backtracking a little bit, but since we were talking about Disney's wife, I have information about Disney and his relationship with women in the Disney company.
About who?
Walt Disney and how women were treated in the Disney company. So,
You're breaking up real bad, but it's going to sound good on the recording, so just go ahead and go for it.
so regarding his wife, he didn't let women be animators. That is to say that he did allow women to be inkers and painters. He just didn't allow them. He didn't believe in their creative ability. He said that this work was difficult, tedious, and that it was passed down work from the male animators. Is the inkers and painters job. So basically,
I'm
he
not
treated
saying he was right, but if you think of famous painters,
yeah.
you think almost entirely male. So maybe.
Well, that in itself too is kind of a cultural issue. Like there's plenty of female painters. Yes, the masters
I'm
are.
just saying I could see why he's like how he came to this conclusion.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, culturally too, women were not as good as men in anything. Well, that's not actually true. Just that's what the culture believed. So during the production of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, however, the women were expected to work more than 80 hours a week doing this tedious and tiny work throughout that production. It was very, very rough for them. In a rejection letter that Disney famously wrote, he said that women do not do any of the creative work in connection with preparing the cartoon for the screen, as the work is entirely performed by young men. So he wasn't a fan of women. But culturally, and this is not a justification of it, but culturally, a lot of men were not a fan of women being around them or working around them.
while we're on that time period at least, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is often regarded as the first animated movie.
Oh, is it? Okay.
If not, like, there were other ones before. It's really like the first American animated movie, and probably the best early animated movie. But there were like a couple in Europe that were.
Did you get stats on the first one? Did you get stats on the actual first one? Like, what was the first animated movie?
Let's see. First colored. See, even this is wrong. Wikipedia pulls it up this way, but there were two European ones prior to that.
Okay. We'll look it up and we can post that. What happened next?
There were two European colored animated movies prior to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is just very popular and well done.
Okay. You mean as a non-English language, right? You mean as a non-English language, like European?
Yeah. I want to say one of them was a Turkish film, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
And I can't remember what the other one was, but I think there were two of them that were color animated films prior to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Following Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Disney went on to make Pinocchio and Fantasia in 1942, Dumbo in 1941, and then Bambi in 1942. Bambi they had started production on since in 1937, but because of World War I, it was kind of a slow process and everything, so it took a little while for them to get Bambi out. During World War II, did I say World War I a minute ago? I mean World War II.
Yeah, you said World War I, but yeah, World War II.
Yeah, World War II. When the U.S. entered World War II, Disney formed the Walt Disney Training Films Unit. There they produced instructional films for the military, such as four methods of flush riveting and aircraft production methods, along with propaganda films for the military and the U.S. government. During the time Bambi came out in 1942, because of the war, it really underperformed. It lost $200,000 at the box office, which is the equivalent of $3 million in today's money. So Bambi kind of bombed when it came out.
What, Bambi bombed?
Bambi bombed.
What? That was a question. Yes, it did bomb.
Say what?
Did you say that Bambi bombed? The Bambi the movie? Movie?
Yes.
Oh, well,
Lost the equivalent of $3 million in today's money at the box office.
yeah, that's low.
Pinocchio and Fantasia. I assume Dumbo too. It was in that time period. Also underperformed because about 40% of Disney's movie market was in Europe, and Europe was getting the shit blown out of it in World War II.
I want to also
So
point out
just
that
because of the war, they lost 40% of the revenue potential from these movies automatically.
I also want to point out that all of those movies feature characters whose are either orphaned or mothers died. That'll be later. I'll explain why that's important.
Fantasia's a weird ass movie. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but
I love Fantasia.
Good.
I've
Really?
always loved it. Yeah, like my mom used to play that for me all the time. But
that was kind of a risky move on their part to go with Fantasia over some sort of a story.
Right, it was, but
kind of pushing what an animated film could be at the time.
Yeah, and I think he was trying to also marry classical art with his own. Well, obviously that's what he was doing, but I think he was trying to bring a new audience to classical art too, and I think he did that very well. He did that. Absolutely did it for me. Some 50 years later, 30 years later, I guess. But no, since we're talking about this era,
there was a link there actually with you saying about the classical music. I figure out who the hell did the music for that. I want to say Tchaikovsky, but I'm not positive. Anyway, Disney and some composer were kind of friends and kind of talked about working together at some point, and then this came along and
I want to say that it was Tchaikovsky too.
Leopold Stokowski?
Oh, maybe not.
But definitely not Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
Leopold Anthony Stokowski.
It's the conductor at the beginning of the movie, right? Two things. Can you repeat what you just said? And that composer is the guy at the beginning of Fantasia, like the conductor in the movie, right?
He may be the guy at the beginning of the movie. Like I said, it's been a little kid since I've seen Fantasia. I've watched it once or twice and decided I didn't like it and never went back to it.
You know what?
They had worked together on something small, and I had mentioned that it'd be fun to do a full movie, and then went and fucking did a full movie.
So now that psilocybin is legal decriminalized in your area, I would rethink your opinion on Fantasia.
Maybe.
Yeah. But since we're talking about World War II and Fantasia in this era, this is a good part for me to jump in and add my 2 cents or my page worth. So it's been pretty widely rumored that that Walt Disney was racist and anti-Semitic. Full disclosure, the reports say that people close to him say he was anything but. However, there is evidence that those reports aren't entirely accurate. So the rumors for the racism are supported by a few of his motion pictures, such as Fantasia, which came out in 1940. There is a section in it that has a black centaur, which is a servant slave to a white centaur, with clear racist undertones. So that scene itself has been cut in later editions and current editions. And I also want to say about the depiction of the race and black people in this time. It was what he did was not any more than what other people did. It didn't help anything, of course. He still drew black people very stereotypically, and it contributed to the current climate and culture and everything. However, there were much worse depictions and stuff. And like for instance, Dr. Seuss had worse depictions of black people in his art than I've ever seen in Walt Disney. But still, I will continue with other stuff. So, for instance, in the movie Dumbo, which came out in 1941, there is that murder of crows. They in the movie are described as jive talking, smoking pack of ne'er do wells. The lead crow. Do you know what the lead crow's name is in that movie?
No. I've never actually seen the full movie. I'm too young for it.
Okay.
I've seen the Zippity Doo Dah music video kind of things, but never the full movie.
So I'm gonna let you guess at what the lead crow's name is.
Oh, this is just to show how racist I am.
You're not any more racist than this answer. So go ahead.
Tyrone. It is definitely Tyrone.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's Jim Crow.
Oh, okay.
After the fucking law. Like, wow. And all of the voice actors were white men doing their best black man impressions. So I'd love to see that clip.
I guess it kind of makes sense because this was probably about the same time that they're doing blackface and shit. So
Yeah. Like I said, he's not doing anything abnormal for his time. Although, again, he shouldn't have done any of this. This did not help anything.
Along with white people doing voiceovers, I just watched Shin Godzilla for the first time this last week.
Yeah.
Badass movie. Recommended, hands down. Without a doubt, the best Godzilla movie ever.
Wait, which one is it?
Shin Godzilla.
What's that?
It's a Japanese Godzilla movie from 2016.
I don't think I've seen it. Anyway, go ahead.
It's
or even heard of it.
Awesome.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Next time you're in town, we're for sure watching it.
For sure. All right.
But yeah, with the voiceovers, it's a Japanese film. They did English voiceovers for it, but it is clearly white guys doing the voiceover.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more racist or less racist, but I want them to have a Japanese accent in the voiceovers.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
I call him Japanese Sean Connery because he has that Sean Connery, that weird S thing that he does. But yeah, he's Japanese Sean Connery, and he's my favorite character in the entire thing.
What if they were all Westerners with Asian descent? Like they all looked Asian, but they all sounded like white guys. That would be funny.
They sound like old white guys.
Okay. So, regarding Dumbo, though, the people who defend the usage of these tropes say it's okay because they're not the ones they're the ones who helped Dumbo. However, this argument puts them in the category that Spike Lee calls the magical Negro. Think Bagger Vance, Driving Miss Daisy, Whoopi and Ghost, Bubba Gump. It's the black guy who comes and helps it's the black guy who comes and helps the white guy and never helps himself and never benefits from his own wisdom in all movies. Well, not all movies, but all of these types of movies. So, Uncle Remus in Song of the South. Do you remember that movie?
Song of the South?
Yeah. 1946.
I remember Zippity Doo Dah, but not the full film.
Yeah. So, yeah, by the way, you conflated Dumbo and Song of the South with that song, but it's the same, idea. So, there are all sorts of problems with Song of the South. Uncle Remus is the main, he's like the narrator in the movie. The main protagonist is this little white boy who's having family problems. But look,
it's a weird mix of live action and animated too,
which artistically is brilliant, and it was why it was so
cool looking.
Yeah,
I think Mary Poppins did it too. They had real people with animated characters.
I believe Song of the South was first though. Like it was pioneering in what it did.
So. Yeah. Mary Poppins didn't come out till 60 something.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that, but okay. But people who are listening, look Song of the South up for yourself for the complete list of problems, because it's just the whole thing is just a fucking wallpaper of just bad
I don't know if you can find it online anywhere.
No, you can't. Not in America.
The full one, but
It is
no.
It was completely like you're not allowed to have it in America, like buy it in America. Um,
You're
but
a very free country.
but there are some places in Europe and Asia that you can still purchase it. So, this is a story of a boy who travels south following some family problems. Specifically, his father leaves his mother and meets an old black man who helps him solve his problems through a series of stories of Brer Rabbit. You remember Brer Rabbit? Brer Rabbit, Brer Bear, and yeah.
Brer everybody.
Yeah. I think that in itself is probably some sort of racist trope, but I don't get it. I'll still call him Brer Rabbit, whatever.
Well, I think the racist part of that one was the tar baby.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. Jesus. See, I just go watch them. No, yes, no. I think everybody should watch the movie.
I
It's
forgot all about that too right now.
yeah.
It was a tar baby in the movie too.
Oh, I remember. I think my grandparents even like bought me the book version of that movie, and I used to read it and everything. So one thing I do want to say about this is that Disney, the man, and the corporation were aware that this film was problematic from the beginning. In fact, publicist Vern Caldwell wrote to producer Perce Pierce. Yeah, that motherfucker's name is Perce Pierce. The Negro, quote, the Negro situation is a dangerous one. Between the Negro haters and the Negro lovers, there are many chances to run afoul of situations that could run the gamut all the way up. Run the gamut all the way from nasty to the controversial. So, Scott, besides the use of the word Negro and the fact that they went through with making this movie, and the fact that they thought in this manner at all, can you identify the problem with what I just quoted?
Well, I think it's...
What will Scott say? You're going to have to listen next week to find out. That was part 1 of the Disney episode. We've got a bunch more to tell you, so make sure that you listen on Stitcher, SoundCloud, and everything that we've said before. What are we on? Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, HigherMindsPodcast.com. You can email us at HigherMindsPodcast@gmail.com. There is so many ways to get a hold of us. Facebook, Instagram. And yeah. So I hope you like that. And next week there's going to be more that you will definitely like. Thanks so much for listening.